Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking into some quite heavy source material. It's a narrative titled Enola Cunny, which translates to Cold Fire.
That's right. It's a really detailed account.
Yeah, it details Aruv's fatal relationship, betrayal, murder. It's tough stuff.
It is. And I think it's important we state our aim here right away. We're trying to understand the commentary and the source about, well, human failure.
Right.
We're not here just to recount the grim details, but to really examine the sequence the narrative lays out, the relationship failing, the emotional pressures building up, the lack of communication.
All the things that led to the tragedy.
Exactly. We need to kind of unpack the psychology behind such a complete collapse as the source sees it.
Okay, so let's start with the main figure, Aruv. He's 28, works for a multinational company northeast of Delhi.
Mm-hmm.
And the source really emphasizes his background, doesn't it? High expectations from his family, mother, father, sister.
Yeah, carrying a lot of weight, but also deeply restless. The source uses this phrase, local monotone life. He wanted out.
He was looking for something more. Freedom, love.
Something personal. Away from the job, the family duties. And that restlessness is key, I think.
Why key?
Well, when someone's searching that intensely for change, for liberation, they can be really susceptible, emotionally speaking, maybe drawn to intensity, perhaps overlooking red flags early on.
Okay, and that search leads him straight to Pooja.
The neighborhood girl, described as lively, cheerful, but right away the source points out this mysterious quality.
Which turned out to be critical.
Absolutely critical. Arav, needing that new start so badly, basically projects all his hopes onto her.
So the relationship starts.
Yeah.
How did it develop initially?
It was quick, almost like a whirlwind built on maybe shared isolation. You know, the usual things, meeting up casually, coffee, tea, late night phone calls, deepening connection.
The source says he felt the sun of expectations rising. Sounds hopeful.
It sounds hopeful, yeah, but it's a hope built on the promise of what could be, not necessarily the reality. It was intoxicating for him.
But the source flags a problem almost straight away. These crack-like gaps. Dara says Surah.
Mm-hmm. Even while the hope was building, this tension was underneath. It refers to Pooja's past things she never fully shared with Arav.
So secret.
More than just secrets, really. It created this imbalance, you know? Unequal knowledge, unequal honesty, right at the foundation. He's putting his whole self into the idea of her.
While she's holding back the reality.
Precisely. So everything they built after that, it was on shaky ground. Like building over a fault line, that tension was always there, just draining things.
Okay, so how did this underlying tension, these gaps, actually play out day to day? Did they argue about her past?
Not directly, it seems, at least not at first. The tension came out sideways, external pressures started bleeding into the relationship.
Like what?
Job stress, family issues, the source mentions arguments about their siblings, things like that, general life responsibilities, like the hidden problem created the vulnerability, and then everyday stress just wore away at it.
So they weren't fighting about the real issue, but about symptoms.
Pretty much. Which brings us to Pooja's complaints. They sound like surface issues, but maybe they weren't.
What were they?
Things like, you don't give me time, or the really cutting one. Am I a priority in your life?
Wow. That sounds like she's testing the very foundation he thought they were building, questioning his commitment.
Exactly. She's pushing back against that initial promise. And the source makes a really interesting point here.
Yeah.
It says that when feelings aren't clear, when they're suppressed or you don't talk about the real stuff, they don't just vanish, they fester. They become gov-deep wounds.
So their confusion literally turned into
pain. Active pain, yeah. Just waiting for a trigger.
Which sadly seems inevitable, given everything you've described.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that final night.
Right. The source describes this massive argument at home. Words like weapons, fiery eyes, complete breakdown.
Did it say what triggered it specifically?
It implies Pooja said something final. Maybe revealed the truth about her past. Maybe it challenged his commitment in a way she hadn't before. Whatever it was the last straw for Arav. His patience, already worn thin by those Gav, just snapped.
And in that moment, he decides, this must end.
A truly terrible decision born out of rage and pain, and the narrative shifts here. It becomes chillingly detailed.
Oh, so
It happened late. Around 2 a.m., Pooja tried to run, apparently. He stopped her. The source describes the act itself, strangulation, as this terrifying convergence.
Convergence of what?
Of everything that had been building.
Yeah.
Fear, anger, all the misunderstandings, his unmet expectations. It all just exploded into this frightful act, as the text calls it.
Horrifying. But then The source says something changes in him immediately after.
Yes, and this is perhaps the most disturbing part. The explosion of emotion, the rage, it vanishes. It's replaced instantly by cold calculation.
How's that possible?
It's a profound psychological break, isn't it? The impulsive, wounded man is gone. In his place is someone focused solely on covering it up. The source uses the term "maje nirne," a cold, calculated decision,
And the first step.
placing Pooja's body in the fridge. That immediate methodical action, moments after a crime supposedly driven by passion, it shows a mind utterly consumed by avoiding detection. This is the Tandi Agni, the cold fire the title refers to, calculation taking over.
That shift is staggering. From hot rage to ice cold.
It really is. And then comes the disposal.
Right, the source mentions this carefully.
Yes, it moderates the graphic details, thankfully. But it says the body was divided, and Aharev started discarding the pieces bit by bit over days, mostly at night in secluded jungle areas.
This wasn't a single panicked act. It was sustained effort.
Exactly. It shows the driving force wasn't rage anymore, but pure fear of getting caught, methodically trying to erase the evidence of what he'd done.
And initially, silence. No one noticed anything.
The area was somewhat secluded, and the source suggests neighbors either genuinely didn't know, or maybe they were afraid to speak up, or perhaps it's just custom, not getting involved.
So Erev is living with this, consumed by fear.
Night after night, dread of capture. But that kind of silence can't last forever when someone is missing.
Pooja's family must have been frantic.
Weeks later, her mother files a missing person report. That's when the official investigation kicks off. And the police, interestingly, seem to have bypassed relying solely on neighbors.
How do they proceed?
Technology, CCTV footage, phone location data. Plus, Arev's own behavior was likely becoming suspicious, erratic. It all started pointing towards him.
The net closed in.
It did. He was arrested, and he confessed.
What did he say in the confession?
He apparently said he just went mad after the argument, the love dispute. A crime of passion, essentially.
But the source seems to suggest it's more complicated than that simple explanation.
Very much so. And it immediately pivots to the impact on Pooja's family. The legal process might have a conclusion, but for them,
Utter devastation.
caught in this awful loop of tears, questions, why? Did we miss something? Didn't we know? Agonizing questions with no real answers.
That trauma just ripples outwards, a legacy of uncertainty for them.
Mm-hmm. Which brings us to where the source goes next, trying to synthesize the why, moving beyond the facts into the emotional and ethical dimensions.
Okay, so looking at Erev's perspective, according to the source,
He seemed to believe love should be easy, effortless understanding, this magical thing that would just lift him out of his dull life.
an escape fantasy almost.
Yeah. So when reality hit confusion, conflict, he didn't have the tools for dialogue. He saw it as a betrayal of the dream itself. That initial unrealistic expectation set him up for a terrible choice when things got tough.
And Pooja, her role in this dynamic, hiding her past.
The source suggests she did that out of fear, maybe shame, but hiding those parts of herself, those Dara Sisurak, actually made her more vulnerable in the end. Because when those hidden truths started to surface, or threatened to, it put the entire relationship, her security within it, at risk. Her attempt to protect herself, ironically, might have fueled the conflict she feared.
That leads to the broader community aspect. The source mentions the society trust breakdown. What does that mean? It seems unfair to blame neighbors for something hidden inside a home.
Right, and I don't think the source is blaming individuals directly. It's pointing to a collective issue. People in the area might have thought, oh, it's safe here, neighbors look out for each other. Kind of comforting ideas.
But they weren't really true.
In this instance, they failed. When things reached boiling point inside that home, the surrounding community was silent. Maybe out of fear, maybe custom, maybe just not wanting to see or deal with conflict next door. The breakdown isn't about specific inaction, but the absence of a safety net, a community resource that just wasn't there when these two people had clearly run out of ways to talk to each other.
So if we pull all these threads together,
Mm-hmm.
what's the final takeaway the source offers? It sounds quite stark.
It is stark. It basically says that love and trust, if you pursue them without real compromise, without open, honest dialogue, especially about the hard stuff, they can become toxic, turn into poison.
Wow.
Yeah. The source argues that a crime like this isn't just a single act of violence, it's the endpoint, the result of broken dreams, failed conversations, unresolved issues piling up. The violence came after the quiet destruction of trust and communication.
So reflecting on this deep dive into cold fire, What should you, our listeners, take away? I mean, it seems to be about the sheer danger of internalizing conflict.
Definitely. Suppressing struggles, leaving huge concerns unsaid. It fractured this relationship until the pressure was just unbearable. That's the root tragedy highlighted here.
And the source leaves us with a final thought, right, about justice and pain.
It does. It's a powerful reminder. The legal process, the trial, the sentence, that's one track. But for the victim's family, the pain, the questions, the what ifs, that scar never fully heals.
Even after a confession, after the crime is solved.
Exactly. The conversation about the real cost of this failure doesn't end with the police report or the court case. It echoes indefinitely in the lives touched by the tragedy. That lingering pain, that's the true chill of the Thandiagni, the cold fire.